Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name is Matt, and this is Crypto Heartbeat. It's 3 o'clock Central Texas time, and we are back with some more entertainment for you. This is a follow up to the breaking news I broke here on the Pulse related to aliens. Boy, we talked about this here this last time about the importance of having the right perspective. And it's amazing what's happening in this world, right? You're like, just what we need. After the Charlie 19, now we get aliens? You know what? I've been a fan of this topic for a long time. And to me, I don't think any of this is in its own separate silo. We have to kind of consider all these things together because we've got all kinds of people all across this world trying to deceive us. And so we have to use our noggins and understand if this stuff is, in fact, let's discern whether it is true or not. But I'm fascinated by this because I've seen this coming for a long, long time. When I was in 7th grade, I read The Monuments of Mars by Richard Hoagland. And I've been really interested in physics and really interested in all this whole UFO stuff. But everybody in the past has been like, oh, you're a kook. No, I'm just curious. I'm curious about a lot of things. And this is one of those things that people have kind of promised for a long time is some sort of disclosure. And now we are in the present era having one of the highest ranking government officials literally becoming a whistleblower, someone that worked on the UAP task force. And his name is Grush. That's his last name. And we're going to watch something real quick here. And we're going to talk about this fact that we have never been alone. It's like, are you saying that we're not alone? We've never been alone, folks. You got to have the right perspective on all this. This is nothing new. It's just new to you. It's new to us because we've been in this age of reasoning where we're the smart ones and we created it all. And you're just the descendant of a newt or a monkey. You're just an animal. And what's so amazing about this is these things don't exist in isolation. You've got to understand how they fit together. But what's amazing about it is the story that they ultimately tell. And this is something that's potentially an existential threat to some people. They get freaked out about this, wigged out about it. I want you to have the right perspective, but I also want you to think about it in the context of everything. I mean, throw this all together. Crypto, those in the world that are trying to centralize things, clamping down, right? SEC and regulatory environment, the money's changing. And then there's AI. Oh my goodness. Then are the sea levels rising? We've got global warming and pandemics and authoritarians. And folks, this is the next thing. And you have to understand, if you've been around for a couple spins around the sun, you know that this is something to consider. And you have to put it in its proper place. But also, what does it do to your perspective? And so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because we're going to talk about this stuff. And I'm going to give you my opinion. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But if you didn't see, News Nation is the news organization that has broken this story. And you probably remember back in 2017, the New York Times came out with this whole Tic Tac thing. And the Department of the Navy, marched out Lieutenant David Fravor and then a number of other people who saw the Tic Tac, which is the 2004 Nimitz incident, is what really opened this thing up. But if you've been following this storyline for a long time, you know about Bob Lazar, you know about all this stuff. Well, Mr. Grush has come out and basically said there is a black project that is been around since, they're saying, at least in modern days, since 1933 in Italy. Mussolini actually is one of the first recorded incidents of recovering a craft. But I want you to watch this video, and then we're going to talk about the fact that we have never been alone. And this isn't something you need to freak out about. You need to understand what it means, because these things have been with us for a long, long time. And making sense of them will help you make sense of the world. And if you understand this stuff, you're like, how do aliens fit in with crypto heartbeat? Maybe we will discuss that as well. But this is fun. You get to experience the fun and curiosity of the mind of crypto heartbeat, but also maybe you learn something in the process. So let's jump into this video and let's check it out. I've got this on 1.5, so it'll seem a little bit fast, but that's the best way to get through this.
In recent reporting, author Michael Schellenberger writes that multiple sources have confirmed whistleblower David Grush's claim that the United States government possesses a number of non-human vehicles. These sources are, quote, either high-ranking intelligence officials, former intelligence officials, or individuals who could be verified as being involved in the United States government UAP efforts for 3 or more decades, according to his reporting. Schellenberger writes that the individuals said they had seen or been presented with, quote, credible and verifiable evidence that the U.S. government and U.S. military contractors possess at least 12 or more alien spacecraft, some of which they shared with AARO, or the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, quote, which AARO has refused to provide Congress. The office reportedly said it has not discovered any verifiable information, end quote, because it does not have the authority to verify it and may not want to verify it. Joining us now to discuss is Twitter Files author and author of Apocalypse Never, Michael Schellenberger. Thank you for being with us, Michael.
Good to be with you.
So, confirmation, aliens are real. This is exciting. What do you make of the baker's dozen of alien spacecraft that we have?
Well, I think it's worth just pointing out that this is very shocking. The whistleblower in question, David Grush, used the term ontological shock, which is a little bit of jargon, but what he means is that the idea that we are not alone in the abstract is something that everybody, I mean, not everybody, but many people, about the large majority of people agree with, that we are almost certainly not alone in the universe. However, the idea that there may already be contact or have been contact for quite a while between the US military and non-human intelligence, non-human life forms is very shocking. And it's shocking for me personally. There's things I kept out of the story that I think were just too shocking and certainly harder to confirm. But I do think it's clear that the conversation about this has progressed from the idea that the Pentagon simply has some videos to a large and growing number of people with reason to know who say that, in fact, there are non-human spacecraft.
That is very intriguing that there's things that you left out of the story. I hope that you'll continue to investigate them. I'm wondering how exactly these sources determined that these crafts were non-human. Was it the material they were made out of, the method of construction? How exactly did they make that determination?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there wasn't much doubt. There are programs, according to these folks, that exist to not just study these technologies, but attempt to reverse engineer them. There was some, I don't know, disagreement or different levels of knowledge about the success in that. Certainly, the idea had been that there was efforts to try to operate these craft or reverse engineers to create them. There's one very interesting story, which is that a major aerospace company apparently tried to involve greater civilian scientists and engineers to reverse engineer the vehicles, because the stovepiping or compartmentalization that exists really prevents the kind of innovation and sharing of knowledge that's actually essential to being able to achieve scientific and engineering goals. And so there was a very briefly floated idea to involve a larger number of scientists and engineers that was apparently rejected by the Pentagon. So these are, look, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. At the same time, extraordinary claims, you don't need extraordinary evidence to simply investigate them. And the claim here is that these craft are real physical objects. This is not a mass hallucination, that they exist in specific military bases or in contractor facilities, and that members of Congress could go and actually find these facilities, or go and actually make sure they get their way in there and try to find these craft themselves.
So obviously this is amazing that we have the craft at all, but I can't help but wonder, were there pilots of the craft? Do we know anything about that? Is there anything you can say to that effect?
David Grush, the whistleblower, did say on News Nation that there were, in some cases, non-human pilots.
What?
I did have confirmation of that from one of my sources. I kept it out of the story in part because it was one source, and also I felt like I really wanted to establish that there is strong evidence that there are craft, and I didn't want to get too much into what I had been told about the different potential of there being beings. It's a lot of ontological shock with just the craft, and I felt like, let's just give this a minute and let's spend a little bit more time doing this reporting. I would also say I'm not the only person that's interviewing these folks. There are other people in my article. I mentioned former Assistant Defense Secretary Christopher Mellon. I mentioned at least 4 witnesses. I think he said in his article in Politico over 4 people. I don't know if those are the same people I spoke to. We don't share information with each other, but there's more people that are finding the courage to speak. They're very scared. They don't want to lose security clearance, and they're also worried about retaliation. And David Grush, as you know, the whistleblower, felt like he needed to go to Congress because he was subject to retaliation.
I actually have chills right now hearing that there were potentially non-human pilots that were recovered along with the craft.
All right. You can watch that at length if you'd like. That was actually The Hill with Michael Schellenberger. You know, the reason I share Schellenberger is the main interview, the hour-long interview with David Grush, is not public yet. It was on News Nation, and so they're an up-and-coming news organization, and they're the only ones that picked up this story. I think what's interesting is that the people that are connected to this. So Ross Coulthard, who is the investigative journalist from Australia, he's kind of the main interviewer of David Grush. But there were a number of people that picked this up, and the first group that did was those that basically broke this story with the New York Times. They tried to get the Washington Post to pick it up, and they wouldn't pick it up, and so News Nation did it, and this is a huge win for them. But what's interesting is Michael Schellenberger. You know, this is apolitical, right? We've got people from across the political spectrum. We've got people that are really vouching for. They haven't made a personal attack on Michael Grush yet, and they basically said he is who he says he is. So we talked about this last time. That this is pretty significant because they've said now that there's at least 12 craft, and this is what the U.S. They're saying the U.S. has. One of the things that I think was really shocking was one is potentially almost the size of a football field. Well, if you know anything about this topic, this has been, back since 1947 in Roswell, that they basically came out and, hey, we've got saucers and they were pilots. And then they said, oh, no, it's a weather balloon and you've been making these things up. This story comes from a number of different perspectives. And I think it's really important to recognize that this is something that is so sensitive and what people think is that no one can handle. And here we are. And I think it's really an indication of something that really started post the nuclear bomb, right? So end of World War II, right? We've got the nuclear bomb going off. And then we've got Roswell, 1947. There's a lot of indications, though, that this has been around for a long, long time. And you know as well that I am a student of the Bible and of, ancient literature and very interested in all of this. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective to understand this fact that here we are today in our modern society saying, wow, are we not alone? Let me show you something that you may or may not know about. So in 1561, this is what's called the celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. Okay, so this is a woodcut that was printed, and this is what is called the phenomenon over Nuremberg. This is in 1561, folks. Okay, that's the year 1561. So I'm going to just read this to you so you understand kind of the perspective of this, because we see in all kinds of, art and, historically these indications that there may be, these things may have been around for a long time. Well, what does the Bible talk about? Talks about angels and demons. And if you look into the scriptures, over 300 times the term angel or messengers or angels has been used. And it was really interesting to me that a guy named Lou Elizondo, who is one of the other whistleblowers who resigned from the Pentagon, who ran the ATIP program, he basically said, listen, this is serious. It's a national security threat. Well, I'm really skeptical of people in the government kind of telling us what to think. And so now that we have these communication networks, we got independent journalism, and now that we've got an era of younger people, and what I mean by that is kind of under 50, who are doing this journalism, they don't have the hangover of the Cold War, and they don't have the hangover of kind of this baby boomer generation. And the fact that we are seeing these things come out into light through these platforms, we're recognizing, hold on, we need to be aware of this stuff. Well, the implications of it, I think, are significant if true, but you have to be extremely cautious. So let's take a look at this phenomenon over Nuremberg. A mass sighting of celestial phenomenon or unidentified flying objects occurred in 1561 above Nuremberg. And this was then a free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire. The view is mostly dismissed by skeptics. Some some have basically said, oh, this is just made up. Well, in 1561, listen to this. In the morning of April 14th of 1561 at daybreak, between 4 and 5 a.m., a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun, and then this was seen in Nuremberg, the city before the gates of the country, by many men and women. At first, it appeared in the middle of the sun, two red semicircle arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter. And this is from 1561. This is the actual text. In the sun, above and below on both sides, the color was blood. There's soon a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color. Likewise, there stood on both sides a torus about the sun, such blood red ones, and other balls in large numbers, about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, and some alone. In between these globes were visible a few blood red crosses, between which there were blood red strips, becoming thicker to the rear, and in the front malleable like rods of reed grass, which were intermingled among them 2 big rods, one on the right, one on the left, and with the big rods were 3, also 4 and more globes. These all started to fight amongst themselves, so that the globes which were first in the sun flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun in the small and large rods flew into the sun. So you can read, more detail of this, but this is from 1561, and this is what they showed. So this picture on the right-hand side, this is what they said happened over the city. And, you think about this. We've heard about Ezekiel with wheels and within wheels, right? We know that there are the kavod of God, right? Literally Moses having to hide in the cleft of a rock. These devices or vehicles or whatever they may be, people saw fighting in 1561. So to say that this is just a modern phenomenon since 1933 or 1947 is actually pretty silly. And so to go back to Lou Elizondo, he was talking to General Mattis when he was trying to brief him on all the study that he had done. And in that study, he basically said, listen, these things are a threat to national security. They're flying around with impunity in our skies. And General Mattis said to him, and this is, Pentagon chief, right? This is a guy who's in the know. He said, Lou, stop investigating this. We already know what they are. And he's like, well, what are they? And he said, are they Russia? Are they China? Are they ours? He said, nope. He said, have you read your Bible recently? This is what General Mattis said privately to Lou Elizondo. And Lou Elizondo is not, I don't foresee him as a man of faith. He says, yeah, I think I know what it says. He says, Lou, they're demons. Drop it. And of course, Lou kind of blew him off and thought, oh, these religious zealots, right? What's really amazing about this is if you think about the fact that, let's say the 1561 case is correct. And, what does the Bible say? The Bible says that there are those who operate within the heavenly realms. And these are beings. So I've said to my kids many times, I said, what do you call something that is not human and not from here? And he would say, well, I guess we call those aliens. Well, there's a lot of evidence throughout all sorts of religious texts and history that there are those who operate within the spiritual realm. What's amazing is as I listen to these reports from people, they're not saying, hey, you think of aliens as coming from some far distant planet. But what it looks like is they use the term unknown Earth civilization. So think about that for a second. Unknown Earth civilization. How can there be a civilization that we're unaware of? And how is it that there is a realm? And I've even heard secular people in all of this, kerfuffle about aliens and this disclosure, is they're saying, yeah, it seems like there's another realm that we're actually simultaneously in experiencing this world with our limited knowledge of light and sound and all of these things as limited creatures, that there's something else going on. Well, that's exactly what the Bible says. Exactly what is. Because our battle is not between flesh and blood, right? That there are those that are in the heavenly realms, right? Well, this is the language that's used by the biblical authors. Well, you can go throughout history and say, hold on, there are many people in Eastern religions who talk about those who came from the sky. Look in Genesis 6:12, and you'll see the sons of men, or the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were attractive and took them as wives, and they had children with them, and they were the Nephilim, the giants, the men of renown. You go into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and what do you find there? The Book of the Watchers, which is a part of the Book of Enoch. You start looking at this and you say, hold on, maybe this story in which we've told ourselves, this story that, oh, we're just descendants of monkeys, right? You just came out of the ooze, and over billions of years, you became this. If you've been watching the series I've been doing with Steve Staggs, which is called Right Side Up, what's amazing is if you understand the hierarchy and the authority of which I do as it relates to the original scriptures, you recognize the fact that, hold on a second. This has actually been communicated clearly for a long time. But our modern view of things is going to put certain, names and explanations on these things. And so my approach is to say, hold on a second, let's dissect this correctly and recognize there's a number of things that this could be. Number one, this could be a psychological operation by people trying to distract you. That's number one. You've got to be on guard, right? Don't take this stuff and freak out. Well, you're already freaking out about crypto. Do you need something else? So, all right. Well, hold on a second. I've been told all my life that we're just descendants of a monkey. Well, who told you that? Right? So here we are with the Texan token and focused on independence. And one of the things I argue with people the most about is this idea that, hold on, your rights don't come from the state. So what does the state do? The state tries to control. And so what do we see in crypto? Centralization. Well, throughout history up until this time, it's been easy to keep things secret, right? Because people can't communicate. So what did you have? You had the reels. You'd go to the movies, and before the movie started, the cinema, you would get the war film, right? And it would be an update from the lines, from far behind the lines. The Allied troops are doing X and Y, right? That's how you got your information. And then when I was a kid, there were 3 channels. Click, click, click. That was it. And now as you look at these things, is what does this future look like when we actually have an understanding? Everything that I see, everything from what CERN's doing with the God particle, to physics, to the double slit experiment, to collapsing the waveform, to all of these things are pointing in the same direction. We're about to come into a new season. And this new season is coming along with the decentralization of the money. So you're like, all right, Crypto Harpy, are you telling me that crypto and what's happening in this world right now and this stuff about disclosure and aliens actually fit together? I am. And that's really the big story of this stream, is we have never been alone. And if you're somebody that thinks that you're an accident and that you don't have any purpose and that there's no value to your life and you might as well be a dog, I think you're going to come into a whole new understanding very soon. Whether you come to it from a religious perspective, looking at the scriptures, or you come to it from a very secular scientific approach, is all of these things are leading back to the same place. And so one of the things that Steve said that I thought was absolutely fantastic is, you've probably heard this before: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, this is what they asked Jesus how to pray, and that's what he told them, right? Our Father who art in heaven. Okay, so there's one who created it all, our Father who created it all, and he's holy, he's perfect. Okay, holy is his name, he's perfect. All right, great. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So hold on, is there a time when God's kingdom comes and it's not right now? Hold on a second. On earth as it is in heaven? So we use this term heaven as this kind of universal thing. Well, all of these secular people are seeing this stuff and they're saying, hold on, there's stuff that we can't describe that's happening that seems intelligent, that are other things, but they're not, they're around our nuclear facilities and they're shutting down nuclear, and they seem to be, some seem to be helpful. Well, this is exactly what the Book of Enoch talks about. This is what the Book of the Watchers, this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that there are those who watch over us. And so, it's easy for people to talk about angels, right? The angels, they're the ones that help us, right? The archangels. But we also hear about the fallen angels. And what's amazing about this story is understanding the context in which this information comes. Because in my opinion, it's all pointing to the same place. And that's what's really crazy. So do you mean to tell me that the decentralization of the money and this gift of AI, even, right? You're like, oh, AI is evil. Hang on a second. Tools are neutral. Tools are neutral. So AI could be used for good or evil. Is the internet all bad? No, I use it to send an email to my grandmother. Okay, is that evil? No, but it's used for evil things. So the question is, in this time where we see the decentralization, where people that are in centralized authority are losing control, how are they going to react? And so you have to look at things and realize that, the enemies of good are on the run. And what is happening is there are people who want to expose these things. And we're going to see the truth at some point. And we're going to understand more and more of the story, but it's going to point, in my opinion, to the same place. And that's really, really the big story, is that it's not just about abundance and when Lambo. It's about a new era. And this new era is one in which things are brought into the light and will be exposed. And so I'm excited about this because of the fact that it is challenging to people. Because what are the challenges for? They're for you to re-examine your place in all of this. Why are you here? What is the purpose of your life? Why are you going to come into abundance in crypto? What is the role that you have to play? How do you care for people? And how do you provide them with hope or with comfort in a time of massive challenges? And that's the era that we're moving into. And it's crazy to think that we went from a lot of stability. Like when I was a kid, it seemed really stable. And now everything is opening up and we're seeing the truth about it. I think you're going to be surprised where it points to. And that's what is so exciting. We're going to pick this up here in just a second after I say hello to you. Godfather J6 is number 1 in the chat. Immutable with the aliens. Texas Life, good to see you. Facing Reality. Hey, guys, I'm going to get through the chat here. Put down your thoughts, your perspective. What do you think this is? What do you think is going on? And how does this all fit together? David Lee, all the way from southwestern Indiana. He's interested in these topics as well. Thanks for being here, David Lee. Francis Powell, my online ghost. Finn Bear, what's going on? Kadium, good to talk to you. Hello. Robert Keller, good afternoon. Great crypto community. Absolutely. What's up, Antonio? That's right. Don Mateo. Nice. We've never been alone. They've been here all along. And who are they? We always have this in every movie that's ever been presented, is that there are these aliens that want to suck your brains out. I think what you're going to find is that if you really examine the biblical narrative, what you find is that there's an immense amount of provision that's provided for us. Right? Why do the evil forces in this world care so much about us? Maybe because we have something that they want. Hexforce 1, it is good to see you as well. Thomas Ordell, Fallen Angels, Great Deception. There you go. Remember, if the aliens call for one world government, pick up arms. Finbear, you are the comedian. Thanks for being here. Alone or not, we are makers of our own fate. Nobody can take that away free will. And that's also really interesting, Antonio. You have a choice, right? If a gun sits on a table, Steve was saying a gun is put on the table. How long will that gun stay on the table? Till the end of time. The table will deteriorate and so will the gun. You can pick it up and you can animate tools. How are we going to animate the blockchain? How are we going to handle this information? What is it that we do with these things? These are the choices that we make. We can go our own way or not. Right. And what we have seen is that people who believe that they're just a descendant of a monkey and they told you the same thing over billions and billions of years, molecules bumped into each other and boom, there you are. What they've done is they've lied to you and they've told you that you are someone that you're not. But here's the interesting thing about this. This opens up such an interesting conversation around this idea of who we are and what our purpose is here, because you have value. And people all your life have told you don't, right? They're just teaching you you're just another animal that is walking on the face of the earth. That is not the truth. And I think we're going to actually see it in our lifetime. I used to be telling people for the last 20 years that, hey, there's going to be a point in which we're going to know the truth about this. Disclosure will happen. And it happened this last week. This is the beginning. So what's going to happen from this? They're going to do everything they can do to shove this thing back in the box. But I think what's interesting is the Inspector General, who this was shared under oath, David Grush, is that his name? Michael Grush. He's the one that shared with the IG under oath. That means if he's lying, he goes to jail. Well, All of these people have come out for fear of retribution and told him, hey, this is what's going on. Now we just got to hope that the people in Congress have the cojones to be able to investigate this. But this is going to get really interesting. And how interesting that we go from crypto and financial stuff and woke culture and all of these things that are meant to divide us. And here we've got this topic. I'm curious on how this will play into the future of our conversations and potentially leadership in this world. Marco Rubio is a critical person in this in the Senate committee that's responsible for this. And I think what we're going to see is that these younger people, younger senators, are actually going to bring a new, fresh perspective. But I think we're going to get to the bottom of this because they've made a really good case that people have been killed over this information, that there has been criminal activity. And really what they're holding back is they're saying this is a new Cold War. And what they mean is that we're not the only ones in the United States that have these recovered craft, that other countries do. Russia and China do as well. And there's a race to reverse engineer these things from military power. And that's the big, big thing. And I think what's really interesting about this is just like those that want to destroy, something that could be a whole new energy source, could provide and solve all kinds of issues of disparity as it relates to fighting over oil and gas and all of these things that we've lied to our people about, weapons of mass destruction, right? Nord Stream pipeline. This is going to turn this thing on its head. And this conversation is going to challenge the very core of many, many people's beliefs. But I believe that it points back to the same place. In fact, the Vatican, I don't know if you remember this, but years and years ago, the astronomer, the official astronomer for the Vatican, they've got a whole archive on this stuff. They've been following this for a long time. And they made it clear that, there have been, what they're saying is agreements that have been made with these forces. Well, you imagine making a deal with the devil? I've heard about that, right? Don't you do that at the crossroads so you can play the blues on your guitar? Folks, it's about to get real. So what does this mean and what does it look like and who's actually in control? So if you follow Steve Staggs and my Fridays with Steve, you realize, hold on a second. This is a reaction to something. And what this does is really amazing because you're going to be living in extremely unique times of biblical proportion. And that's exciting to me because I don't know the future, but I know the one who does. And when you have that confidence and you recognize the fact that, hold on a second, everything's about to change. Well, that creates opportunities, but for many, it creates fear. And so I think that the community that's being built around crypto is really, really special because you know what? Where do you go when you don't have answers? Where do you go when you need comfort? Where do you go when you need somebody to sit with you when your dad's in a casket? Right? Those are the things that we have in this community, even if people are fighting. And that's why it says love covers a multitude of sins. And so here's what's amazing about this. This is the beginning of a whole new era of disclosure. And we're going to see some things and you're going to have to be on guard and discerning. It's like anything with fake news and information. It could be an absolute psychological operation so that you are drawn off sides and off. Well, who knows the truth? And just like in our talk, with Steve Staggs, I basically said, Steve, everything I've ever learned from you points back to one thing. Jesus is alive and he speaks. Are you listening? And I think that what's really crazy about this is you can understand your purpose for life, right? And it's available. And all of these things are going to challenge your very, constitution. I think what's really great about it, though, is whether you're somebody that believes in God or not, that what we're going to see is something we've never seen in our lifetimes. And we likely will understand, what are these things? I've got some ideas of what they are, but it seems like if I go back to the 1561 or whatever it was, woodcut that basically talked about a battle in the sky, is that the scripture that says the battle is not between flesh and blood is true. We are not meant to fight within ourselves, but there are those in the spiritual realms, right, that are battling. And that battle has been going on for a long time. And it's about to, in my opinion, soon come to an end. Which side will you be on? Rich Liberation, good to see you. Good afternoon, Texans. Humberto Gonzalez, blessings from sunny Miami. Taryn, what's going on? David Lee with the stars. Thomas, post-enlightenment garbage covering up the truth of Nephilim. And that's what's interesting. If it truly is the Nephilim and you understand who the Nephilim are, these were the giants, the men of renown. It says in the book of Enoch that the prayers of men reached the throne room of God, and he had pity on man because the Nephilim were consuming men. And you look at the deluge and you look at the flood and all of these things. Even David himself was called to kill those over a certain height to get rid of this Nephilim blood, if you will. It's really interesting how those that fell, and it's outlined. If you want to have a really good read, take a look at the book of Enoch. They actually communicate who these angels were. And they said, what does the scripture say? They were locked up in the earth. Where are they? Well, you know where they say a lot of these come from? Underwater. So this is, this assumption that people have that they're coming from like Alpha Centauri or, Betelgeuse or some place far, far, far away. And they're like, it can't happen. They can't travel that fast. Well, get ready for your physics to change, because there are those that are operating in our skies through multiple mediums with impunity, and they know things. And it's really going to be interesting, because what does the Bible say about the end? It talks about the fact that there is going to be a one world government, right? And there will be a mark that keeps you from buying and selling. And there will be a beast, one out of the water and one out of the land. Hello. These things seem so trivial at this point. You're like, that's just allegory. It may actually be literal, friends. And you're like, well, is there going to be one who appears and calls himself God and literally does amazing signs and wonders? Yeah, possibly. They even talk about in the 1940s that there was some agreement made with these, other species. We're going to hopefully learn about these things. It is going to be exciting, must-see TV, if you will. I don't think C-SPAN's ready for the kind of viewership that they're about to have. Christopher Head, I know I sound like a kook, but I've seen a few UFOs, not new to me. I knew they were here watching and protecting us for 20 years now. Don't believe what you see what you believe. There you go. Boom. There's a lot of people who have, and people don't want to talk about it. It's been literally taboo. No stories are broken anymore. They are planned. Operation Mockingbird. There you go. Everyone relax. The end of the world will not be here because any of these events. The end and Yeshua return will accrue when this gospel of the kingdom of God is preached to the entire world. There you go. Texas life, it's all smoke and mirrors to me. Makes me laugh. Yeah. And it's potentially propaganda. This is why you have to discern these things. I'm really curious, though. It's very difficult to keep a secret anymore. Very, very difficult to keep a secret anymore. And so what I think is this era that we're coming into, you know what? If you have discernment, you can tell what is true and what is not true. They're evil. Crypto Trucker, what's going on? They're demons. Crypto Trucker says they're demons. Academacia says, been patiently waiting for our fake alien invasion. It's about 2 years late. Potentially coming soon to a screen near you. My notification button seldom works. Fake disclosure, Taryn says. Maybe, maybe not. But that's the thing you need to be paying attention to. I'm really curious because, Lou Elizondo and his whole deal with ATIP and the 2017 stuff, and Lieutenant David Fravor, pretty compelling to me. Well, there are people that talk about, there are things around our military installations that have been happening for years and years and years. If you want to look at a really cool example of this, there was the National Press Club brought together all of these people that were a part of the government in 1996. And this was where they basically talked about, around nuclear facilities, around, all of these things. I think what's really curious, whether the watchers, right, whether they're the angels or the demons, there are those who are concerned about what happens in this place and what happens to you. So you have to be careful and cautious. But what's interesting to me is that a lot of these accounts have really talked about protecting us from ourselves. They shut down 10 missile silos that were separately powered, all in a row, some sort of red orb. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. So do you feel alone? Well, no, we've never been alone. Do you feel like you're a descendant of a monkey? You're an animal, just like your dog, right? And killing a bug is like killing you. That's how they want you to see yourself. That's the lie, that you have no authority, that you're lower than the angels, that you're not important, and that your choice doesn't matter. But I assure you that working together, and that's why I think crypto is so important to this future, is that we work together in community, and that's how it's meant to be. Bearing with one another, right? Community is really, really important. Umberto says Matthew 24, 3 through 14. Check it out. War of the Worlds, part 2. That's awesome. I occasionally think how quickly our differences, worldwide advantage, if we were told we were facing an alien threat from an outside of this world. Ronald Reagan likely knew about some of this stuff. But see, that's the interesting thing. That's why you have to be cautious. This idea of a one world government, so I'm going to give you, this is the Crypto Heartbeats take on what is potentially going on that is extremely devious. If you were to scare everybody, which they did with the Charlie 19, and now you've got this existential threat, this thing to tell you that these are evil aliens and they're coming to destroy us, right? Is what they do is, one, they get you off sides with being fearful. But watch this. This is the greatest lie, and this would be the evidence to me that it's demonic. Imagine that the message, they come friendly. Oh, these are friendly aliens. They're really nice and helpful. And they're warning us about climate change, right? World Economic Forum, all these people said, see, we told you you wouldn't listen to Al Gore. Now listen to the aliens. What are the aliens telling us? Oh, no, the world is going to overheat. It's going to do all these things. And what do? Right? Get everybody to come around and sing Kumbaya, right? Around this idea that, oh no, the earth is going to, get ready for the lie, folks. It's very possible that this will be used as propaganda in that way. But you're smart, you're discerning, but be on guard. And that's why I talk about these things, because I think that what's amazing is if there is a future where heaven and earth become one, that the resources to make it come one will be given because it's abundant. What do we see in DeFi in the crypto world? True DeFi. Wow, this could be a world of decentralizing the money. Well, what does that do? It threatens the war machine. You disincentivize, you starve it, because the money isn't created by the centralized authorities anymore. It's made by you and me in community. That's powerful stuff. Really? Yeah, the money could be decentralized and we could create it in community. That means the centralized authorities become much, much, much smaller. And so what would they do? They try to shut it down. What are they trying to do? Try to shut it down. But who can they touch? Only the ones that have gotten to bed with them, right? The ones on centralized exchanges. You can't delist something that's unlisted. You can't unlist something that's delisted. That's what Richard Hart said. And that's where we find ourselves. True DeFi will win the day. But I'm really fascinated about this idea that the money is being used as a carrot on a stick to get your attention. But what happens, and what role do you play, and how important are you, and do you have a purpose? What if you're in abundance? What's your responsibility? And how does this all fit together? You got to be paying attention, because just what the centralized players are doing, forget the aliens. They want to centralize. They want to have literally a one world currency, right? They want to have social credit scores and digital IDs. They want to control you. Well, I never ever thought it would happen, that we would be in a position where you would have to have the mark in order to buy and sell. But that's what's coming, folks. It's obvious to me. This is an opportunity for people to be fearful. AI is going to take your job. You need the state to give you a handout. And that handout comes with a government wallet, a CBDC, and a social credit score with a digital ID. And then you realize, if you're not a good boy and you don't toe the line and you don't believe what all the people in the city believe, you won't be able to buy and sell. But what you meant for evil, others have meant for good. And that there is provision in the midst of chaos. And I believe that DeFi will have its day in the sun. So bring it on. Bring on all of this craziness with crypto. Burn it to the ground. Babylon's going to burn in an hour. But folks, you are on the right side of this because we're going to animate the blockchain for good in community by caring for one another, to be concerned about others in addition to ourselves. USA can build anything in secret, and you know what? They pretty much have. But to have somebody on the inside like this, to resign and to blow the whistle to Congress, gives me a little bit of hope. But we will see. What's up, Dick? I'm surprised that they're still considering going with a fake invasion. We'll see. I don't know that we're going to see an invasion. I think that that's kind of the common conspiracy. I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's any invasion at long. If in fact there were those that were intelligent aliens and they wanted to destroy us, they would destroy us. But this battle, if you look through history, is actually for our very souls. Who are we? You're valuable. You've been told that when the lights go out and you die, it's over. It's not true. Because if it was true, that you would be no different than any other animal, and no one would be fighting over this place like they are. Why would they care unless we had value? It says in the book of Enoch, the spark. Why would you leave the high holy heaven and defile yourselves with the daughters of men? Why would you do that? That was what Enoch said to the watchers, to those who had fallen. And you think, that's interesting. Why would you do this? I don't think it's a fake alien invasion. I don't think it's just that. I think what we're going to end up seeing is the actual truth about what's been happening all along. And you're going to be told lies, and you're going to have to be able to discern those things. And it's going to shock your system. And there are going to be people who are freaking out. However, it's going to get interesting. But this new heaven and this new earth, right? This new thing that's going to come out of all of this stuff. If I have anything to do about it, and I think if you have anything to do about it, it's going to be decentralized and it's going to be based on abundance, not scarcity. That's the hope I have. But I'm an optimist. It's part of the great deception Jesus warned us about. Yeah, buddy. I'm glad I still have my Ghostbusters backpack. Wouldn't that be perfect now? Da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, it'd be great. I can see Brandon holding one of those, electric gun things. Yeah. Liberty or death. Hey, Matt and Texan fam. It's good to be back as I've been on vacation at the beach. Very nice. I'm on a beach. I saw a guy with a metal detector and he had a t-shirt on that said, "Beach better have my money." It was a guy with a metal detector. Pretty good. Buy the dip, folks. Perhaps we can onboard the aliens to Hex, Texan, and Pulse Chain. Hey, we got some warm bodies. Let's bring them in, Act Emaciated. Oh, shoot. Can the aliens hack our Bitcoins? Let's hope not. Crypto Bigfoot. What's up, y'all? The mechanics of the realm beneath our feet. There you go. Paul Opta 7. What's going on? Hello, everyone. Spirit Falcon. Love this stuff. Scarier to think we are alone. Yeah, it is scarier to think. But imagine we did discover that there are those who care and that those who are aligned with the Creator and have been given a purpose to serve us, to provide messages to us, to guide us. People talk about, and they're very comfortable talking about angels, right? It's my guardian angel. It may be true. But just as there are guardian angels and there are angels who appear like Gabriel and Raphael and Michael, there are also those who fell. Shimyaza, those that have fallen. And if you look at anything that's kind of pre-Diluvian, prior to the flood, these stories are everywhere. Are we going to understand more and more about how and who and what we are? I think what you're going to be surprised is those that are trying to lie to you are telling you are less than you actually are. I think what you're going to find is that you have great power, not on your own. It's going to be interesting. They took all the gold. You're talking about the Anunnaki, man. Deception incoming, Nephilim or demons. I believe that AI technology is from these beings who know of knowledge from their days in heaven before they revolted. Possibly, it's really fascinating. Somebody said to me, Jesus is coming on the clouds. And he said, what are the clouds? Are those the things up in the air, or are those cloud computing? AI, some crazy stuff. Matt, did you watch the documentary about that dude that worked for the Vatican who translated the old text for them? I sent it to you months ago. I have not seen that, and I apologize. I heard Giants Davis in the house, whether it's flat or it is hollow. We are together as one, my friend. Hornet UK1, Lambo ships. There you go. When Lambo ships. Yep, the Bible's real. The flood destroyed these beings, corrupt DNA. Yeah, it's interesting. You know what's interesting? If you look into the book of Enoch, and it's actually the book of Noah, which is part of the book of Enoch, you see Lamech, who is the father of Noah. And Noah's born, and it freaks him out. So he goes to Methuselah and he goes, I just wanted to come to you basically to see if this son of mine is one of them, because he looks like the sons of God. When he opens his eyes, it illuminates the house. Interesting. What's up, the only one? What's up, Hexicans? I came here. The trolls get me better deals. There you go. I came to hear the trolls get me a better deals. There you go. 222 in the house. Hexiquin, great to see you. Tell them to mine their own gold. Dang it. Cookies and chocolata, aliens or fallen angels. And that's the question, right? Right? This modern ideas are like, well, did they come from far away? Well, where are they saying they come from? They come from over the poles. They come from outside of volcanoes. They come from underwater. They come hyperdimensionally. I mean, we've seen some of these atomic tests where literally the atomic bomb goes off the test and these things go boop, 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 and bop. They just pop out of nowhere. Interesting. We didn't really see a lot of these things on a daily basis off the east and the west coast around these military installations until we updated our FLIR systems that had this infrared technology, right? Seeing things outside of visible light. The love from Hexiquin, Clintrons, good day and good morning. Heartbeat Crew, Davis, aliens are beyond Antarctica. Yeah. Or the seawall, one of the two. Andre, yeah, that's it. Andre, question. Is Earth is flat and there is water above? Water's above. BSC being sued should help us. There you go. You know, and I think Binance in the US and all this, they're just pushing everything offshore because they can't contain this. The SEC doesn't run the world. But when Lambo, that's exactly the right question. The waters above make the stars twinkle. There you go. Magnus, evening, folks. Jeremy Roche from London. When Moon, Jet Flex, God helpers, they are. I hope anyway, yeah. Is Enki still alive? Well, who is Enki, right? If you look at the Anunnaki, there were two brothers. There was Enlil and there was Enki. It's really interesting. The story, if you look into the Sumerian texts of that story is about those that came, right? They came to Earth, and they say probably 445,000 years ago, splashed down in the Eridu, which they says is kind of southeastern Africa. And they came to mine the gold because they needed gold for the atmosphere of Nibiru. It's a really interesting story if you dig into it. But there is two brothers. They were half brothers. And Enki liked the man that they had fashioned as a worker, right? But Enlil said, no, you cannot give them the spark of the Spirit of God, meaning the ability to reproduce. It's an interesting story. How does it fit into all these things? I'm aware of it, but interesting. If you look at the Sumerians Kings list, I think the first ruler ruled for 36,000 years. Extravagant taste. So these hip boots I bought at Combat Rising Seas will not really be necessary. Probably not extravagant taste. I love the tongue-in-cheek aspect of all of this. This is an interesting topic, brother. There's a lot of things to be discussed. And that's why I take a point of personal privilege on Crypto Heartbeat to talk to you about these things. But I want to help put them in perspective because you got to be discerning, right? We have been told lies since the beginning of time. In the garden, right? Oh, surely you won't die. He didn't say that. You have to be armed for this. That's why this series with Steve Stikes is so important to understand. Who are we? You have forgotten who you are. Everything is upside down. You're being told a lie. Discernment is wise, right? Actually, I put up a tweet today. I'm gonna bring this up. I tweeted this morning, and it's interesting the responses that I got. So I'm gonna put this up on the screen. This is let me see where this is. Crypto Heartbeat. All right, let's see here. This is James 1:4-3. Let me throw this up on the screen. All right, so this is James 4:1-3. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You desire, but you do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. Well, but when Lambo, right? What is this? These desires that are at a battle within us. We will covet and we will kill to get what we want. But what does it say? You do not have because you do not ask God. And that's one of the most amazing things to me in all of this is that we have the ultimate chat GPT and we could ask for ourselves. But everyone tells you that God is dead, right? They tell you that you're just a descendant of a monkey. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And that's the big story of all of this. So what would it look like if you were aligned with the creator of the universe? How would that affect crypto? What if you were to animate the tools that you have at your disposal for good and not for evil? That's the bigger question in all this stuff. You aren't alone, but you're important. And it's obvious that you're important because you have a purpose. And so do you see yourselves as one who plays a role in this future in which makes heaven and earth one? It's called the kingdom of God. And I think what you're going to find if you follow the story, you don't have to believe what I believe. But if you're paying attention, you're going to see absolutely amazing things. But do not be deceived, because the warning is that there will be one who calls himself God, does signs and wonders, and you will literally have to take their mark. Be on guard. People lie under oath all the time. That's right. Maybe he'll go to jail because he's been lying and this is all made up. Deep state is nothing new. How many species have been around? What has been the influence in mankind? What do they get in return for being around? Interesting. You just mentioned agreements. Yes. So when Ross Coulthart was doing this interview with the whistleblower, they basically indicated that there has been communication and potentially agreements with these entities previously. And there's a historic account of this with Eisenhower. So, wouldn't it be interesting to kind of bust all of these things open and be able to determine this, right? This is the whole idea of transparency, right? Make up your own mind. I love to see those that are aligned with evil forces being on the back foot, because they're on the back foot with the money when it comes to DeFi, and they're now on the back foot with this stuff, right? They think that they are protecting you by keeping you from these things. But what have they done in response, right? Lied to you, right? To what? To drive this era of scarcity, right? Weapons of mass destruction. What is that about? It's about the oil and gas, folks. Blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. What's that about? The oil and the gas. Why would you want to keep a whole new energy source that literally could be clean and, completely available that's based on this technology? Because then I couldn't make my money. I'm about controlling you. Imagine when heaven and earth become one. What does it look like? Being fully known, right? It's interesting. It's interesting. We may be finding ourselves in a massive transition in this world. And this is, I think, a really monumental week in the history of my life, is to go, this is where we might actually get some information that is true. But we're going to get a whole lot of information that's false in the process. Spirit Falcon, my parents were part of a group of people on a highway in rural Australia whose cars all shut down at the same time. They looked up and there were no stars despite there being no clouds. And there was probably a craft that blocked out the stars. There's a guy, I think he was in western part of the United States, that saw something that he described as size of a super Walmart. And they're saying that they've got a craft of one of these 12 that they have recovered that they said is the size comparatively to a football field. Wow. And then Bob Lazar talked about how some of the craft that he worked on, that he was trying to reverse engineer, were found in an archaeological dig. Jordan Maxwell knew a lot of stuff. He just died about a year ago. David Lee said Steve Stagg's episodes are mind-blowing. Ask and pray and pay attention. There you go. Goran, warm greetings from Croatia. Good to see you. Thanks for being here, people across the world. I think it's demonic, liberty or death, as it was pointed out by many now that Hollywood, Netflix, mainstream media is openly promoting Satan in a very positive light in recent years. Seems that they're conditioning us. Well, and if you think about this whole spirit dinner stuff, pedophilia, child sacrifice, all this stuff is of the demonic realm, right? And why? Why? They want to tell you that you mean nothing, but meanwhile, they're trafficking in these things. It's evil. The question is, when are good people going to stand up? And guess what? Through DeFi, we're going to have the resources to do just that. Timely topic, Hex Alchemist. Thanks so much. Hornet UK, Rags, you are pushing it. That's right. Freddie Quotes with the eyes popping out of his head. Freddie Quotes is out there online challenging people to take the bet, if you know what I'm saying. Got to head out. I'll watch the replay. Peace to y'all. Thanks so much. Good day, sir. David Lee, Mark Claustel. Almost missed this one. Better late than never. Great to see you. Thank God for the replays. Roger that. I accidentally found my way to the site I shouldn't have been on. I was following a link from Twitter. I don't know how to get in trouble for taking it. Oh, nice. It's chilling. Yeah, be careful what you type into the interwebs. Demons would expose themselves and say they're aliens. They will then say, we came from them and there is no God, causing many to turn from Christianity, lies of the devil. Yeah, it's pretty clear, right? What is the Antichrist? What is the one that basically stands in the temple and says he's God, right? Does signs and wonders? Be interesting. I don't have all the answers. What I'm saying is be on guard, folks. This is a pivotal time, right? We went from the whole Charlie 19 thing for 2 years, right? That occupied everyone's thought. We had this common experience of being locked down. What comes next, right? Be careful. And there is one who knows, and you can ask him yourself. We're good, everyone. Oh, we're good, everyone. Trump already built the alien wall. Yeah, and I think Mexico paid for it. Hey, Matt, good to see you. Hexonium, good to see you. Just to scare us. If they're here, they could have taken us out long ago. Yeah, that's true. And the question is, why haven't they? And this is where I think it becomes a really interesting story is, who are you and why are you so valuable? Is it this earth that's valuable? Are we just, right? So we have this assumption because we look at things from a scientific perspective, right? And there's so much literature that goes way beyond this kind of age of enlightenment. And I think when you start considering those things, what you realize is, hold on, this thing's upside down. What would it look like if it was right side up? Well, no man knows that, right? That's why Steve Stagg says, hey, he's alive and he speaks. Why don't you ask him yourself? They've lied about our power and our whole history. Good evening from warm, very warm Oxford. You didn't say sunny, Ruskino. People are busy to rewrite, retranslate the Bible. There are many adjusted and missing parts. Alrighty. How many of you seen the things in the sky that are hard to understand? Many joke about the topic and many keep quiet because of the fear. We are so conditioned. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll do this periodically as we get new information, but we'll be back to crypto. I've got some exciting things that are happening this week. Guess who we're going to be talking to this week? We got Westcott Crypto tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Westcott Crypto. I'm getting back to my roots of interviewing. And Westcott Crypto is killing it. And so we're going to have a discussion. That's going to be a fun one. That's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time. And then we've got John from Ophir and Chairman Roy, who is the who leads all those churches in the Philippines. And we'll be talking about Ophir Crypto on Thursday. We'll be back, I believe, with Steve Staggs on Friday. So we got a full week, folks. And hang on a second. Wednesday. So Tuesday's Westcott. Wednesday is Doc Vince from Ophir in the Philippines. And then Thursday is Chairman Roy and John, Firestarter 88 from Ophir. And then Friday, Steve Staggs. Folks, we're busy every single day. I hope you can join us. There's going to be some really good content. Boy, it just runs the gamut, doesn't it? Thumbs up. A life you couldn't imagine until you live it. Amen to that. Pineapple Love, back again. You're absolutely right about we are not alone. Never have been. Never have been. Yep, he's always on the back foot. That's Satan himself, isn't it? He doesn't like being what he said. He doesn't like being what he is. There you go. Well, you think about this. Birthright is a big thing in the scriptures, right? If those taking a birthright. In one of the things that you probably know the story of the prodigal son, right? So the story goes that this son, or this father has got 2 sons. One wants his inheritance now, and he demands it from his father, and his father gives him that inheritance, and he runs off and he squanders it, right? He finds himself, after he's led this debaucherous life, he finds himself eating with the pigs. And he feels so bad that he had squandered his father's, wealth, that he's like, I wonder if I could go back and he would give me, maybe treat me like one of his servants. Maybe I could just serve him because I have nowhere to go. And what does he do? He comes back to his father. And as he is far off, the father sees that he's coming. And he literally says to the other son, my son was dead and now he's alive. And what does he do? He runs out to his son. And the son who thinks, my father will never take me back. I'll be like one of his slaves or servants. And he comes out and what does he do? He puts a robe on him, kills the fattened calf. He puts a ring on his finger and he kisses his face. So here's a question. That story is the story of everything. We have gone our own way. When? Lambo. We have squandered the inheritance, right? Why do you want this? Why do you kill and covet to get the things you want? Why do you go after the money? When? Lambo. Why? Because you think that this thing called money is going to make your life better. And maybe in some respects it will. But that's not what this whole thing's about. There's a father who's going to run after you as you come back to him, and he's going to give you authority. And that authority is his ring, which is his signature. But he only gives you that authority if you can be trusted with it. The question is, can you be trusted? Yes, sir. Summer here in the Ohio River Valley is humid and hot. Typically, absolutely. Exciting times. Did you Trump is connected to Tesla and Nikola and time travel? Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm not how to make sense of that one, Pineapple Love, but I appreciate it. Government was wasting time, people's time when they rewrite the rules and change the whole system while most people are asleep. It's a rug pull of our humanity. That's a really good way of putting it. Ophir Crypto can be found at ophircrypto.com. Just donated to them this morning. Fantastic Texas Life. Participating in that is giving to a nonprofit organization out of the Philippines that serves churches. They help all kinds of things for health, for, poverty, for, helping the local church. But then, what's amazing is this is probably the best way you've already changed their lives, the people who have already donated, but this is how we do token distribution for the Ophir Crypto airdrop. Roof Dog, what's going on? Good to see you as well. I love Ophir, amazing project because it spreads the love of Jesus. There you go. And you know what I think is great about the local church? The people that Pastor Roy, and you're going to hear this from him on Thursday and from John. There are people all over the world that are suffering, right? This is a third world experience for people. And the fact of the matter is we can come around people like that and we can give them hope by helping them get into decentralized, programs and projects like Ophir. But there's some other things we got up our sleeve. If you've been listening to Rags and myself about how we're going to strengthen our projects, that's also coming. Oh, Trump's uncle. Gotcha. When you get a chance, look up some info on Jordan Maxwell and David Wilcock. Okay, I will. Rich Liberation, what's going on? And David Lee with the final message. Thanks for joining the Pulse today. It is an incredible time to be alive, especially if you're somebody that's optimistic and curious. But folks, don't let your hearts be troubled. All of these things you think are happening in silos. They're not happening in silos. All of this is interconnected. And I would tell you this, everybody wants to divide us. They don't want us to get together and high five. They don't want us to celebrate together. They don't want us to care about one another. They want to divide us based on every possible difference that we have. In my opinion, if in fact we do see that heaven and earth do become one, it is going to be one in which we have love for our fellow men. And I see that in this community in spades. And to think that we can be a part of a future that is abundant, well, guess what? Things are going to have to change because right now we're controlled by centralized authorities that want to control and they want to clamp down and they want to track you. We say no. And we, I believe, are on the side of good because we're going to animate these tools for good. So be on high alert, pay attention, be discerning, and ask him yourself, people. Watch Ophir. Lives, they have all such amazing, gentle, godly spirits, great men of God. When you're in a culture like that and in situations like that, that's why I see a lot of people who go on mission trips and stuff. They're like, oh, we're going to go out and serve these people. And what they realize is their lives are changed because they recognize that people that have so much less than they do are happier than they are. They ought to be sending missionaries to the United States because we are morally bankrupt. And that's the truth. Folks, thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt. We are not alone, and you are not the descendant of a monkey. And do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Tomorrow, Westcott Crypto.